Good morning and welcome to the Thursday edition of our weekly briefing. We'll be looking at the weather starting today, Thursday, July the 7th, out through next Wednesday. Believe that is actually probably July the 14th. But nonetheless, looking at a week's worth of weather, it's been busy already this week. A lot of what we're going to cover today is similar to what was covered on Monday for those who were able to attend that briefing. As the weather has been somewhat persistent and very active. First things first, we saw temperatures around the area in the mid to upper 90s yesterday. Some areas around the Triangle area were over 100, and we saw heat indices around 110 in those areas as well. And so for that reason, we've got a heat advisory that's out for much of the same areas as yesterday, but also an excessive heat warning for really the urban corridor from Durham down towards Fayetteville, where we may see temperatures approach 100 again by this afternoon. A little bit of cloud cover out there holding things back, but we expect again the warm up to continue through the afternoon. And with those heat indices approaching 110 or even exceeding for consecutive days, we really want to emphasize the impacts of the dangerous heat. Those cumulative effects can really have an effect on folks who are outdoors for multiple days. And so for that reason, heat advisories and excessive heat warnings are in effect today, may potentially be needed tomorrow as well. The weather pattern, as I mentioned, has been relatively persistent. We've been in a warm, hot and humid air mass for most of the week. There's a cold front that's up to our north, and that's been slowly making its way south into Virginia. And that's been the catalyst, along with some upper level disturbances, for showers and storms that have kind of moved in east and south into North Carolina each day. We've seen a lot of severe weather. We've seen some flooding, heavy rain. And so that's going to continue the next couple of days, as that front's not going to get here really until Saturday night, when we expect things to finally start to dry out, and we'll get some more cooler and stable air in here for the weekend, and actually see probably a nice early next week before heat and humidity returns and another front approaches by the middle of next week. So again, continue, weather's going to be the same today, tomorrow, maybe a little bit cooler on Saturday with some more clouds around, but nonetheless still active. Rainfall amounts expected over the next 5 days. We've already seen some areas that have gotten 2 to 3 inches with thunderstorms. It's not been completely widespread. It's mostly been across the southern Piedmont and also the northern coastal plain areas from, say, Chapel Hill to Durham through Raleigh may have missed out so far. But we expect the pattern to continue, and the focus may end up being more across eastern areas of North Carolina over the next couple of days, where we could see 1 to 3 inches with any thunderstorm complex and even some locally higher amounts. On the whole, over the next few days, we expect 1 to 3, perhaps up to 4 inches. And so that, that'll be very helpful if we get it in the right time frame, not too much at once, but we've been in a drought. And so we need some of the rainfall. And again, we're expecting it mostly across the eastern half of our area over the next couple of days. Due to that rain, and I mentioned the potential for flooding, we have our excessive rain outlooks focused across the eastern half of the area. All of central North Carolina is in at least a marginal risk, with eastern areas east of US 1 today, maybe a little bit more towards the coast tomorrow, and again on Saturday, those areas being in a slight risk for that flooding potential, where the rainfall is expected to be the heaviest. The severe weather chances over the next couple of days, again, continue to be afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Today may be the best risk for the damaging winds, but again, the threat will continue tomorrow and Saturday as well, when we have a marginal risk as opposed to the slight risk, the higher of the risk categories today. But again, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, expecting the potential for severe weather, with things calming down as we head towards Sunday into early next week. Luckily, the tropics right now are quiet. We had a little bit of an active pattern a couple of weeks ago. Things have been quiet for the past week or so, and we expect that to at least continue over the next week or so. When we get beyond the middle of next week, we do expect a bit of a pattern shift, and so we should see a reprieve from the heat with temperatures perhaps even being just slightly below normal. And you can see that there over the Ohio Valley and northern portions of the Tennessee Valley, where the quote unquote cooler weather is expected to be, but a break from the heat for us, and perhaps a continued unsettled pattern, where we could see, maybe slightly above normal rainfall over the next couple of weeks. And again, with the drought, which I'll mention in just a second, that would be welcome to continue to be in a wet pattern. I know the farmers out there would certainly like to see that. I mentioned the drought. Over the past week, we saw mostly dry conditions. So this graphic here actually is an assessment of the drought ending on Tuesday morning. Most of our rain has come since then, and so the rainfall that we've seen over the last couple of days doesn't impact this graphic. But we saw an expansion, a little bit of an expansion of the D2, the severe drought. That's the darker orange, expanding a little bit west into the Piedmont. It's been in the coastal plain for several weeks. Expanding a little bit west, we saw D1, the moderate drought, expand across the northern Piedmont and portions of the western Piedmont. And so generally the drought conditions have been deteriorating for most areas. The impacts are starting to be seen. We're starting to see a little bit lower lake levels and some reports from farmers of where they're having some crop issues. Welcome rain this week, and we hope to stay in an active pattern to continue that. So in summary, again, it's active today, tomorrow, and Saturday. Heat will be there today and tomorrow. We're certainly trying to express that to the public of, consecutive days of really hot and humid conditions can really be dangerous. But the active weather will continue. Storms today, risk for flooding, perhaps a lower risk of severe storms tomorrow and Saturday, but nonetheless, the chances of flooding will continue. We will welcome the cold front on Saturday, as that will give us some better weather Sunday and Monday, with temperatures perhaps dropping back into 80s and being very nice. We do expect the heat to briefly return the middle of next week before we get a cold front, and then beyond that, with conditions hopefully being back towards normal in terms of temperatures. So I appreciate everyone listening in today for our weekly briefing. As always, we are here for any questions that anyone may have.